Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
So, before we jump into it, we're actually going to do two new segments. How often these segments appear on the show, who knows?
Wow.
But I'm going to start
okay.
with mine, Matt's Michael Mann Memorandum. I've been wanting to watch Michael Mann movies because, for the past couple months, I think I've seen two, maybe three of his movies over the course of my life, and I love his style. I love his very moody, very broody, but I love the way he uses his music. It just speaks to me as an artist, and I'm like, I don't know who my favorite director is, and I'm like, is it Michael Mann? I feel like I need to watch more of his stuff to be sure. But I like the way, I like his directorial choices in everything. I'm like, so it might be him. So I decided to start. I went back to the 1981 movie Thief, starring James Caan, and it was pretty good, man. Like, almost instantly, as soon as it starts, you're like, yeah, this is a Michael Mann movie. You know, it's a montage of a heist in progress, and it's playing a cool little music, a cool song. I'm like, okay. You're several minutes into it before the first line of dialogue is spoken. I'm like, yeah, I dig this.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I really don't know what else to say. It just basically everything I liked about it was everything I like about all the other Michael Mann movies, you know? And okay, I've been talking to Sam about this for weeks now. I saw this video essay about the Miami Vice movie, and I was like, okay, the essay was okay, but I keep thinking about it and I keep referencing it for weeks now. I'm like, wow, that was a pretty good video. And I can't find it. Like, I don't know who this guy was who did it, because I'm just like, okay, whatever, moved on.
Yeah.
But I can't find it. But he brought up something interesting about the Miami Vice movie, in that all the characters, they know they're doomed. Anyone in that line of work, undercover cops, they're doomed. So when they love hard, and they go all the way. You know, same thing when they party, they go all the way because they know it's not going to last. And he was talking about the Miami Vice movie when he mentioned that in that video. But I think that's just kind of all of Michael Mann's characters.
I can see that.
Yeah, and so the main character in Thief, it's essentially this guy who spent goes to prison at age 20, and he gets out at 30. And it's so fascinating because granted, times have changed and stuff, but the romantic interest, the way he talks to her is very, very rude, very demanding, not very acceptable by any standards, even then, technically. So I was kind of put off by that, but the more I'm watching it, I'm kind of thinking, I was like, man, this is a guy who doesn't really know how to live. So the basic, that concept is not oh, he really likes this girl. It's almost like he has this idea, and he literally has this collage he made in prison of his dream life, and cars, kids, family. Willie Nelson is kind of plays his surrogate father in prison. So he's on the collage and all this stuff. So it's almost like he doesn't know how to live his life. So he's trying to do it by a step-by-step process. You know, he found a girl that he likes, so he instantly wants to marry her. And she came out of a relationship with this con artist, and she doesn't want to be back in that life. But just seeing the way this guy thinks of everything, and so simplistically, he kind of talks her into it. And it felt less of a romance and more of a business transaction. We're good together. We have similar backgrounds. Let's do it. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
What's next? Let's buy a house. Okay. Let's have kids. She can't have kids. Okay, let's adopt. He can't adopt because he was a former prisoner, you know? So they're so it's just it's he's going through the motions of what he thinks a good life is. And there's just something very fascinating about that kind of character. I was like, wow, huh. And again, it goes back to what that guy was saying, these characters are all doomed, so they want to make as the most of it when they have it. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow. So I recommend it. I think I saw it on Tubi. So there were ads, but there's actually very, very few ads. They're super short too. They're like maybe 15, 20 second ads.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find it streaming anywhere. I even checked Criterion, but
Mm.
um, oh well. And I was just gonna do his Michael Mann's films, but I did see he was talking about this movie Thief and this character, and he says he got the idea for it while making his actual first movie, which was a TV movie about these guys in prison. And I don't remember what's called. I was like, oh, let me look it up. It's on YouTube. I watched like the first 5 minutes. Again, you can tell this is a Michael Mann movie.
Yeah.
And like it's like the first couple minutes, it's all a montage of just guys living in prison, in the yard, working out, playing chess, doing deals, and there's no dialogue. I think it's an instrumental version of Sympathy for the Devil, I think.
Oh,
Rolling
interesting.
Stones. And I'm like, dude, it's horrible quality because it's 70s TV, like uploaded to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But the style is there. And I'm like, okay, Michael, man, I see where you're going. So I might watch that one next just to kind of get the whole Michael Mann experience. So we'll see.
Is it the Jericho Mile?
Yes, that's what it is.
I went on IMDb to look this up because I needed to know just for my sake. But I want to read you the tagline that's on the poster. There are 4 kinds of men in Folsom Prison: the blacks, the whites, the Latinos, and the dead.
Wow.
I'm in. I'm all
That's a
in,
TV
baby.
movie, man. Dude, I miss those old like taglines,
Yeah. Yeah, I think the peak 1979. Yeah, this is the peak. Yeah, peak time for like posters and taglines. I don't think you could get away with that now.
Yeah. But we're gonna have to go back and watch the 2000. I think it was 2009 hit. None of that.
Oh God.
About I think her name is like Sister Grimm or something like that. She's a nun with a shotgun cleaning up the streets, and the tagline is, "It's a blast for you and a blast for me." I'm sold.
Sister Kelly Wrath.
Ooh, Sister Kelly Wrath. I love it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so
boy.
I'll be periodically checking in with Matt's Michael Mann memorandum.
Okay, well, I may in fact, join if my brother tells me that he's gonna,
I told you
start to
last
do
week.
these things.
I'm gonna try to watch Thief. So I
Okay.
think this weekend I'm gonna try and watch Jericho. What's it called? The
Okay.
Jericho Mile.
The Jericho Mile.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. So and it's like
Okay.
TV movie, so it's like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our next segment, we're entering Sam Trek.
Whoa.
That's right. Sam's catching up on Star Trek Picard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, you're zooming. You're binging.
Yeah. Well, because we had a big work event this past weekend that ate up, pretty much our whole Saturday. So Sunday, I was exhausted. I was wiped out. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I basically got up from bed and had enough energy to make it to my sofa, and that was it. So yeah, and just kind of like watch some YouTube, kind of putzed around a little bit, and then I was like, no, let's get serious. I've been putting this off for far too long. And I found out that as of this recording, the series finale for Star Trek Picard is Thursday.
Yeah, it's 2 nights
days
from now.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'll be darned. It's like I may not watch it on Thursday, but I'm definitely gonna try and catch it on Friday. I'm finishing it this week as well. So yeah, listeners, I watched the first 6 episodes of Star Trek Picard.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Now, I think it would be a little unfair if we talked spoilers because our listeners might not have listened and we're not doing a full episode on that.
That's
so
true.
We will avoid spoilers, but avoiding spoilers Sam, what are you thinking? Like 6 episodes in.
Okay, here's the thing. I have vague memories about watching Next Gen
Hmm.
with you, dad, and mom. A lot of what I remember from Star Trek, like TV, was sort of like the end of Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
Right.
That's mostly what I remember. So my love for Trek and Picard and the Enterprise crew, it all comes from the movies.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I've gone back, I've watched some sparse Next Gen here and there, but yeah, like I just rewatch those movies over and over. um and it was surreal watching Picard season one, because it's like, yeah, like that's kind of like the in thing. Like we're doing like the old man Logan, kind of thing, like getting
Hmm.
these old characters for one last ride, and all that. That's kind of what the first season was billed as, but that's definitely what this season is,
Right.
season three. And I don't know, I feel like as many problems that I had with like season one and two of Picard, I think those were sort of like the proving ground of what really needed to happen with this third season, which is becoming the final season.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's like they're pulling out all the stops. They're bringing back all of these characters. They're sort of wrapping up storylines that were sort of left open ended.
Hmm.
From next gen and even a little bit like DS9 and Voyager a bit, um kind of all sort of tying it together, and it's so good.
Yeah.
It's like it's written so well, and it's like, man, I really wish these were the movies that we got
Hmm.
after Next Gen ended,
Yeah.
or like or something. Like I really, I think I wish this had just come sooner,
Interesting. Hmm.
because and obviously I'm only like a little over half the season in, and I don't and I don't know what they're really building towards with this finale, but it just feels like this feels so good to see all of these people back on screen together. It's like watching old friends.
Hmm.
It's like coming back together with old friends and family, and like seeing them all back on the screen. It's like, man, I really wish we could have done this years ago, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It is. I'll say this one thing. I guess maybe a downside of it is that the whole season is basically kind of like the heist montage or whatever, where we're getting the band back together,
yeah,
because the season begins a very Picard and Riker centric storyline, and then as the episodes go on, they start adding a lot more of the original Next Gen crew.
yeah,
So unfortunately, that means like we only have like maybe a handful of episodes, with everyone or with this character and that character. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's kind of the bummer about it. I'm really curious what the plan was because it was originally going to be a 5 season show. And on top of that, the showrunner this season was also the showrunner of season 2. So I'm like, what? I mean, it was COVID. COVID totally just wrecked that entire production.
Yeah.
So like I'm really curious what like the original plan for season 2 was, and 3 and 4 and 5, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um so but and yeah, it would have been cool if we got this earlier, but it's like here we are now and it's playing into the story, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's been 20 plus years since the whole crew was together and you know, if you watch, you'll find out like who kept in touch and who didn't keep in touch and why. And that's
Yeah.
really fascinating because these characters are still those original characters, but they've grown. They've had decades to grow and change. And it's really, really cool to see. It's like, yeah, I do see this person growing into this person. You know, you see
Hmm.
that, you could see that full story arc.
Yeah.
So, as opposed to what I mentioned a couple weeks ago, like Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, where you take the chosen one, your hero of the story, Harry Potter, and then you just turn him into like a stiff neck, stiff shirt. I don't know, working for the man. You know, he's
Yeah.
going to do anything to keep his kids out of danger, even though he should. Although that's understandable, those characters should know better. They should know that the risks and rewards of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this kind of feels like that because this is again, it's not really a spoiler. It's kind of in the trailers. You do get to meet some of the children of the next gen crew, and that is
Mm-hmm.
kind of a story throughout the season. So and so it's not like Cursed Child. It's not like The Mummy Returns or any of those other movies where like the kids are just there to be annoying little idiots. You know,
Yeah.
like it's really interesting how they're interweaving the storylines and how it does feel like this is the end of the next generation, but the beginning of the next generation.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we'll talk about this next week after the series wraps up. Now, with all the Michael Mann and Star Trek out of the way, we got an episode to talk about.
Oh boy. Yeah, we do.
Season 4, episode 9, The Shape of Things to Come. Really? Is that what this is? The Shape of
Uh-huh.
Things to Come?
I
The
think so.
team from the ship attacks Locke's camp. Meanwhile, in the not so distant future, Ben enlists the aid of Saeed to battle the forces of Charles Widmore. Okay, I'm just gonna come out and say it. This is like the first time, at least through this rewatch, where I absolutely love the character of Benjamin Linus.
Yeah.
I hate him so much, but
Yep.
like to be 4 seasons into the series and have your, I guess, pseudo big bad, at least he's kind of been the big bad up to this point,
Hmm.
to still be learning more about him, still seeing new facets of his character. And he's always been like we've always said. Oh, he's like the little like a rat like character, you know, very rogue like. But he
Uh-huh.
actually like threw down a little bit today. He shot some guys, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we actually see him thinking on his feet. I'm like, this is why the others couldn't just kill him off. Because we were always saying, like, why are they so afraid of this guy? Why don't they just kill him? I'm like,
Yeah.
this is why. Contingency plans, and he's that good.
Yeah.
He's the evil Batman, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many
Oddly
contingency
enough.
plans.
Yeah.
And I love how he has all these guns hidden in the house that nobody knew about.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Like he just keeps pulling them out of like different places. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. So what are your thoughts? Initial reactions?
Uh Initial reactions are I got my initial reaction was remember when this was a show about people stuck on a beach after a plane crash trying to figure out how to survive.
Yep.
Now we're here with paramilitary groups waging a small war on this weird suburban town on the middle of an island, who then get caught up, who then get their asses handed them by a smoke monster security
Yeah, Smokey came
force.
back.
Yeah. This episode's wild. I was just like it kind of felt like at every single turn, like every single scene just added like answered a question, but more so just like presented like five more questions. Like, well, wait a
Mm-hmm.
second, like how did Ben get to Iraq? You know, like well wait, how you know, like all these different things uh and yeah, just the entire ending of the episode, I'm just like what what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
What does all this mean? Like, yeah, it definitely it's one of those like act turns that just like yeah, it's it's on the nose, the shape of things to come. And if this is any indication of what's coming, I am horrified. I'm
Yeah,
scared.
it's
I'm
gonna
very
get
scared.
bloody. Hmm.
Yeah.
This was definitely an adventure episode.
Hmm.
What episode was it earlier this season where we're like, man, they're going all over the place? I don't know, but like Ben wakes up in the Sahara Desert, and then he finds himself in Tunisia, and then he's in Iraq, and then in London. I'm like, man, I was like, I love this show. He's getting all over the world.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's also interesting because that first, I'm trying to think that I think it's when he gets to Tunisia. Oh, when she gives him the date, October 2005.
Uh-huh.
So it's just a little under a year from now in the show.
Okay. Okay.
So you're like, okay, so wow, so Sun's already had her baby at this point.
Hmm.
We don't know what Jack and Kate are up to, and this is before. This was the episode that started the whole Saeed working with Ben. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we're starting to get a timeline here. This is just about a year from now into the future. Saeed, he found Nadia.
Uh-huh.
He married Nadia,
Yeah. Huh.
and then she was murdered.
Uh-huh.
Ugh.
By Charles Whitmore.
So he just can't catch a break. And now we know
Nope.
why he's working with Ben. Ben is such a good con man, you know? Like he's
Hmm.
so good the way he bait and switches Saeed into working with him. It's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, dude.
It's one of those things where like you feel like Saeed is coming to the conclusion by himself, you
Yeah.
know? Like he's making this decision by himself, and then you realize like right at the end of that little arc of the episode as Ben's walking away, and you just see before the scene cuts, you see that sniveling little smile that he has. You're like, no, he played Saeed. He played him like a fiddle and knew
Yeah.
exactly how to get this guy to be on his side. It's
Yeah.
like, man, what a
And
sleazeball.
and that kind of goes back to all the Sawyer episodes we were talking about, how to be a good con artist. Like, uh, rule number one, you can't con an honest man. Rule number two, you have to make the guy think it was his own idea.
Hmm.
That was the whole reason why Sawyer would lend the guy the money for the night. So he gets
Yeah,
confident with it.
yeah,
And that's pretty much what Ben was doing. He had Saeed kill that guy, and then Ben was walking away. He's like, "You don't want any part of this, Saeed." And it's
uh-huh,
like, oh man,
yeah.
yeah, man,
Negging. It's negging, is what it is.
yeah. So it's a very ethically and morally gray area that we're in right now, because it's like Ben is a bad guy, but we don't want to work with him, but we'd rather be with Ben than Charles Widmore. You
Yeah,
know?
oddly enough, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, Ben's off island story. Loved it. So cool.
Uh-huh.
Uh he goes by the name Dean Moriarty. Is interesting.
Because of course he would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um yeah. So all the island stuff, man. Okay, I guess let's talk about the small part, the like C plot.
Uh-huh.
A body washes up on shore. It's the doctor from the ship, and
Yeah.
he's had his throat slit.
Yep.
To basically sum it up, Daniel is able to contact the boat via Morse code, asks about the doctor, and lies about it to Jack. But our boy Bernard steps up, and he's like, "No, I know what they're saying. They said the doctor's fine." I was like, "Oh," and Jack's just losing it, man. He's like, "Why aren't you taking us home? Why aren't you helping us? Blah blah blah." And then he walks off like all sick looking, and we're like, "Uh oh."
Yeah.
I don't know where that's going. We'll see. But just the fact that the doctor shows up dead and then the boat says no, he's fine.
Yeah.
Again, it's that time dilation or whatever we were talking about.
Yeah.
They're like a day and a half ahead of us, I think, or ahead of the island.
Mm-hmm. So probably on the boat right now, the doctor probably is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does this mean Michael kills him?
I don't know. Well, you see, so that's interesting. Like, does I guess that means the island is in the future? Because if he's
Oh,
still alive on the boat, but
that's
he's
a
dead
good
on the
point.
island.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you go back in time when you leave the island. Because we already knew that Said and Desmond lost like a day and a half, but we've kind of figured out they didn't really lose it. It's like they went back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Ooh, that is interesting. Ooh, that's weird.
That's really weird because they also sent Frank back to the island, which means he's gonna show up back in present day, you know?
Oh yeah, potentially.
That's just wild. That just kind of dawned on me right
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
actually, yeah, the island is technically in the future by a
Ooh.
little bit.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're getting some wild time travel shenanigans now.
I know. I love it.
Ooh,
I
I
love
love
it.
this, dude. I love science fiction. Locke's camp gets attacked, man. It's a full-on war.
Uh-huh.
I remember watching this on TV and I was like, oh my God. Oh, and keep in mind, this is the first episode back after that hiatus because of the
Oh
writer's
yeah,
strike. So we're like, oh God, it's on. Oh no.
yeah.
I love that they barricade the house. I love that they blew up Claire's house.
They blew
Luckily,
up
she was
Claire's house?
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I did think it was a little ridiculous. Like one guy gets shot and then somebody runs out of the house to check on the source, like, get back inside, and that person gets shot. And then another person comes out of the house to check on that person. So it's like, get inside, and that person gets shot. It's like,
Yeah, right. We hear machine guns.
okay.
Let's run outside and look.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just
Jeez.
like, no, I'm good. I'm staying in. I'm gonna bunker down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, did they kill everybody else? Because Locke had a pretty significant amount of people with that left with him.
That's kind of what it seemed like.
Are they
You
all
know,
dead?
maybe. But the worst part about those three nameless extras getting
Uh-huh.
killed,
Uh-huh.
none of them were Frogurt.
Ah, I'm just gonna pretend that yeah, Froger is dead.
I'm
Froger
sure.
died
I'm sure
among
Frogurt died.
among them. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was going to Claire's house because he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get some, and
Yeah.
then like he walked inside and was like, yoo-hoo, and then the whole house exploded
Mm-hmm.
and he just disintegrated,
Exactly.
dead
I love
as a
it.
doornail. Yeah,
Yeah. That's my canon. You can't tell me otherwise.
exactly.
So, yeah, yeah. That's one of my notes. I'm like, dude, they're killing all the extras. Well, I guess I'll just throw in some behind the scenes right now.
Sure.
Those three extras that got killed, they were all background cast all the way back since the pilot.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I think that the last guy who died, the guy with the glasses, he had like up to like 50 episodes of Lost under
Whoa.
his name. Yeah. And it's like they were just there constantly. So originally they had 33 background cast from the flight and they kind of used them throughout the series,
Hmm.
which again kind of reinforces what we've been talking about this whole time. Promote them, you
Yeah.
know, give those extras a line here and there. One, it does wonders for them for their career, and they can get union jobs because they had a speaking line, all that stuff, or they could at least apply. Like,
Yeah.
and then if you really like them, you bump them up to like a guest or whatever, or recurrent. You know what I mean? Nikki and Paolo were terrible characters, and that
Yes.
wasn't the actor's fault. It was the writing of the characters. But
Hmm.
Nikki and Paolo should have been extras who were promoted into the main cast
Yeah. Yeah. I
because
agree.
it would have made so much more sense. Every single background actor wants to be an actor, so give them the chance, damn it.
Exactly, exactly. You can't tell me one of the guys that just got shot in this episode, he wouldn't have liked to have been Paolo, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so now the survivors. We have Ben, Locke, Hurley, Miles, Claire, and the little baby Aaron.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Let's get into the heart wrenching moment, man, where
Dude,
they killed Alex.
I didn't think they were gonna do it, to be honest.
Right, right. They're building it up. They were leading up. I was like, oh god.
Yeah,
And then
and
like even mid sentence, they shoot her, and Ben is just like
yeah,
shocked.
yeah,
Kimi is one bad dude, man.
uh-huh. If he's still alive, it's on site. He's going down.
Right? Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy too, because even like I was just sort of thinking like maybe because I don't think I don't think Rousseau got hit with like a kill shot, you
mm,
know? Like so my thinking was that like, oh, she's gonna like come back and like, try and
yeah.
like distract them or something, or but yeah, I don't know. And like Carl, pretty sure like Carl's dead for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but
Everyone
yeah,
who they've killed have been with one bullet. Nobody got shot several times, you know what I mean?
yeah, they
So
are efficient.
yeah, it's very efficient.
Yeah.
Um yeah, yeah, man. And like and when Kimi starts counting down from 10, like Ben starts getting desperate, man. He said, "She's not my real daughter. I stole her from a crazy woman. She means nothing to me." And that's the last thing Alex hears. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, man. And then that prompts Ben to like go into his secret chamber,
A
lock it up,
hidden tunnel?
and there's a hidden tunnel in his secret chamber, which like the door has like cave writing on it that he has to like push
So,
aside.
more behind the scenes, those were hieroglyphics, Egyptian,
Mm-hmm.
roughly translating to something like to seek protection, something like that.
Oh,
I
interesting.
was like, okay, interesting. And we
Huh.
don't actually see what Ben does down there. We just
No,
see
we
him
don't.
enter, and when he comes
Yeah.
back, he has a plan, and that plan is to run as soon as Smokey comes out and takes out Kimi and his men.
Uh-huh.
Which that was pretty satisfying because it's been a while since we saw old Smokey.
Uh-huh. I think the last time we saw Old Smokey was when he killed Mr. Echo, right?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
a while.
Which is there a connection between Kimi and Echo? Because maybe I'm just reading into it because Locke or I'm sorry, not Locke. Ben did say that, Kimi was like a decorated soldier or whatever, but has
He's a
been doing
mercenary.
mercenary work specifically in Uganda.
I wouldn't be surprised if they cross paths at one point. That would have been
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Well, what's his name? Martin?
Yeah,
If
Martin
Martin,
Martin Kimi.
yeah, if Martin Kimi shows up in enough episodes to constitute a flashback or something, like I want to know.
Yeah, we'll see. You,
Yeah.
you hate that character, but Kevin Durand is doing such a good job as a bad guy,
I
and just
know.
the like his inflections, the way he uses his voice, and I'm like,
Mhm.
ooh, there's just something off,
Yeah.
about that guy. You're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Not once do you doubt that like he's gonna kill Alex. We
Yeah.
think, oh, something's gonna stop him, but like, no, this guy's intent. Like, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, they split the party. So Ben is taking Locke to meet Jacob, but they need Hurley to find the cabin. So they're
Yeah.
off going on their own. Big confrontation because Sawyer doesn't want Hurley to go. He's trying to protect his boy Hugo.
Uh-huh.
But Hurley's like, man, he's like, I don't want any more violence. I'll go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So Sawyer, Claire, Aaron, and Miles are now off
The beach.
heading to the beach. So
Oh
interesting, Miles
boy.
too, because like you could tell like this is not what Miles signed up for. He's like,
Nope.
I no. He's like, I'm sticking with you guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh,
He's been locked up in a shed. He's been fed a grenade. He's been, you know, toted around, handcuffed, tied up, for the last, I don't know how many days he's been there.
But he
And
draws the line when Kimi and his men show up and start killing innocents.
yeah,
I'm like, oh,
yeah. So, I guess good on him for having survival instincts.
hmm But I guess kind of a bummer about the season is how little we're actually getting of like the new cast.
I was gonna say that because like even with
We've barely
even
seen Charlotte.
yeah, I was gonna say like what is Charlotte's deal? You know,
Yeah.
we get that Faraday is not all there and
Hmm.
he's able to do all these things. He's doing things every episode, but then like
He's
what
doing
is
things every
Charlotte? Like
episode. He's
what
kind of had a flashback episode tied in with Desmond's.
yeah.
Miles, we've seen him a little bit, but there's not much to Frank. It's just like he's a dude trying to solve a mystery, you know?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
Charlotte, like, I'm really curious. Like, I want to know more about her. She's just kind of like tagging along at this point.
Yeah.
But it felt like those first couple episodes this season, like, oh, we got new cast members. Let's see what's going to happen. And I was like, well, I don't
Mhm.
know. We'll see.
Yeah, I wonder you know, like I wonder how much of that may have been impacted by, the writer strike.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, well, like they were only going to have this many episodes and then they got to go ahead to get a couple more, and so it's like,
Hmm.
well, where do we decide to like draw the line, like whose stories are more important to, to set up the
Right.
ending and all of that. So,
Hmm.
and unfortunately that's just one of, I feel like that's just one of the struggles being 4 seasons into this series and still introducing new characters, you
True.
know?
And still having a cast that's so stacked,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, because here's the thing, like, these last 3 seasons are much shorter. We don't really have like the time to do one-off episodes, or at least as far as like the flashbacks go. You
Yeah.
know, first three seasons that was kind of it was hit and miss with some of those backstories. By the time we get to season 4, it's like, okay, I think we're done with backstories,
Yeah.
because some of them were just like, we didn't need to see this.
Yeah.
So now that there's less episodes, I feel like they've gotten rid of that. And like this season specifically, we've gotten flash forwards from the Oceanic Six. We've now gotten one from Ben.
Uh-huh.
We technically had a flashback with Desmond and Faraday. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like all the flashes are very specific. So I am curious, like, if they did have the full 16 episodes, if there was no writer strike, like who else would have got one?
Yeah.
Because so far, again, like from the main core, the survivors, we've only got flash forwards from the 6.
Yeah.
So what about everyone else? I'm like, are we not getting anything from Sawyer this year? Is he not getting a flashback or forwards?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I don't
or
know.
Claire. So I'm really curious, like, who would have been those extra two if we had those extra 2 episodes? Um, whose story would we have got?
Mm.
I don't know. The episode ends with Ben confronting Widmore in his bed,
Uh-huh.
and they keep mentioning some kind of rules that are set up.
Yeah, Ben said that when
They kill Alex.
when they kill Alex, he said he changed the rules, and
Mm-hmm.
then he like hunkers away into his cell and does summon Smokey Joe. Uh, yeah. So like, what does that mean? And not only that, Widmore keeps saying that the island is mine.
He's
It's
like, yeah,
always been mine, and it
yeah.
will be mine again. It's like, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
What
And I love
he's
it because Ben says, "Well, you're never gonna find it." Well, then, I guess the hunt is on. It's like, oh man,
Jeez. Man, it's
damn.
just typical. Typical. Two rich, well-connected white dudes ruining the lives of everyone.
I know. Yep.
Man.
And you know what though? Like, I'm really curious now going forward to see what Ben's deal is, because he is acting like a protector of this island, and I'm like, is this just for selfish reasons,
Mhm.
or like what, what's his deal? I mean, I could say that about any character, but what's his deal? Like, what's he doing? What's this war that he's been waging with Charles Woodmore? How do they even connect? You know?
Yeah. And because Woodmore says that he knows who Ben is and he knows what Ben is.
Hmm.
What does that mean? When it's
Yeah.
like like this whole time, that's sort of like the in with the others that like Ben is special,
Hmm.
because he was born on the island. This whole thing, like he's special. He has a destiny. Ben even like has
Was he
fed
though?
into that belief. Well, no, that's why I'm using air quotes because he
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
born on the island,
Hmm.
but it's this sort of idea that like even Ben has used it, to lord over others, and he's sort of bought into that himself.
Yeah.
He's special. He has a destiny. The
Hmm.
island is his destiny somehow. Um so yeah, but I don't know what Woodmore's talking about when he's like, I know what you are. It's like, well,
Yeah.
what does that mean? And as much as we were saying like it's really hard to like be on Ben's side and do all these things, blah blah blah, it's like I feel like this episode was working really hard to maybe not like redeem Benjamin Linus, but to have him to obviously to show that like he's a very intricate faceted character, has his own things, he definitely a con man, all these things, like he's so engaging to watch, and you're just like, yeah, okay, like maybe maybe we are on his side, in this
Hmm.
war against Widmore, right up until Benjamin Linus tells Charles Widmore to his face he's gonna murder his daughter
Hmm.
Penelope
It's like, damn.
just to get even. And I'm like, that's it, I don't care, Benjamin Linus, it's on site.
Hmm.
You little, Whitmore even calls him a little rat,
Hmm.
sneaking into my room at night like a rat. I'm like, yeah, you tell him, Whitmore, you
Yeah.
tell him, you.
He's such a
Oh,
fascinating villain. I love it.
yeah, I love it.
The last thing I'll say, man, it was so like heartbreaking though. Like when they see everyone or the Smokey doing his thing, and then everyone starts leaving, and he tells Locke, he's like, "I'll catch up with you." He's like, "What are you? Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm going to tell my daughter goodbye." I'm like, "Oh
Yeah,
man, yeah,
yeah.
that's yeah."
Oh,
But I mean, again, Whitmore, he's a bastard, but there is truth to what he was saying. Like
hmm,
Ben murdered her,
yeah,
like he didn't pull the trigger, but he's the one who caused it. So there's no good guys. I think the good guys are the ones who crashed there. So
yeah, for sure.
yeah, okay, so MVPs.
Yeah, man. Uh, yeah, Benjamin Linus. Yeah,
Yeah, it's gotta be
yeah,
Michael Emerson.
yeah. Yeah, especially to go from like a character that I'm like, oh, okay, I get it, Michael Emerson. You're creepy, you're all knowing, you got all this stuff, and then to pull this episode out, it's like where he really gets to show his stuff.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
not sure he ever won an Emmy. I have to look that up.
mm,
I know Terry O'Quinn did, I'm pretty sure, for Locke.
okay.
But I don't know. Um
I think I'd give a shout out to Naveen Andrews. Uh,
oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah, because like he's not in this episode that much, but like, man, you really see. I was always curious, like, what is it gonna take to get Saeed on Ben's side? And we don't see like the build up to it, but we see the event that is,
Yeah, it's the
them,
aftermath.
yeah, them working together,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, okay, yeah, I thought he did real well this episode.
Okay, predictions.
Man, someone's definitely dying by the end of this season.
Mm,
One of the OG cast.
okay.
It's gonna be big and it's gonna suck. And it's gonna be Ben's fault. Yeah. Oh, and I guess like they're gonna explain the rules at some point. And of course, in lost fashion, they're not gonna like sit us down and tell us this is how the rules of the island work. You're like, no, they're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna see it play out in an interesting way and be like, oh, now we can
Yeah.
infer this is technically the rule set or something.
Right.
just pull a Dungeons and Dragons movie, and it's like you don't have to tell me the rules. Just just kind of be loose with it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. All right. Well, then we'll see what happens next week. Next week, we're going to talk about season 4, episode 10, Something Nice Back Home. Doesn't that sound just so comforting?
Oh, yeah.
In which Kate and Juliet must work together as Jack continues to grow more ill. Meanwhile, the survivors from Locke's camp face their own challenges while trying to return to the beach.
Oh boy.
Oh man. Guys, thanks for joining us. As always, hit us up online, #Lost Legacies. Our friend of the show, Dan, he's been with us, man, for a few years at this point.
Yeah.
He actually tweeted that he started watching Dark.
I saw that
sci-fi show I've been talking about forever. I'm kind of curious what his thoughts are, and I kind of told him too. I was like, okay, you watch it, you're gonna get a hint of a post Lost Legacies. What does that look like? Because storytelling wise, I feel like that's in the vein of Lost. I could see it being like really heady.
Yeah.
Also, it was huge in Europe and stuff, but not really here in America, so I consider that a lost legacy. But yeah, if you want to get a hold of us, use #Lost Legacies. And I'm on Twitter at _Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Reel, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
Until next time, get lost.
Get lost.